In the ancient world, any child that was not wanted by his or her family, any child that was declared dispensable, whether because they were a financial burden, or because they were sick or disabled, or simply because she was a girl at a time when girls were not valued, the family had the option of taking their unwanted child to the hills. And when they got to the hillside, they would lay the child on the ground and walk away, knowing and intending that within minutes or hours or days, this unwanted child would be a victim of the elements. There were children on the hills. This was not a rarity. This was not a scandal. In the ancient world, this was common, accepted, and expected. And then came Jesus. Then the church started sending search parties to head for the hills. These search parties would sweep through the hillside, looking for the kids who had been left behind. They would search through the wilderness for deserted children, and when they found one, they would bring them home and adopt them into their new family. In fact, the early church was filled with women because so many baby girls were brought home when the church would head for the hills. In the United States, there are 400,000 kids in the foster care system. 1 in 4 cannot go home. That means that there are 100,000 kids on the hillside. 100,000 kids are waiting for someone to come for them. 100,000 kids are waiting for a search party. We are that search party. These are the forgotten ones. These are the deserted ones. These are the ones who have been told that they are dispensable. It's time again. There are children on the hills. Head for the hills.
Well, good morning. Like Megan said, my name is Casey Stanley. I'm the founder and director of the Real Hope Project. And before I share anything else with you this morning, I actually want to ask everybody to take out your cell phone. Grab your phone and open up a text message to this phone number. We might have it on a slide, but don't worry, I'll say it a couple times. 612-888-0494. 612-888-0494. And once you have that, just hold on to it. I'm going to tell you what we're going to do with that in just a second. Thank you so much to Pastor Scott and the team here for letting us come and share. Thank you to my friend Megan for pestering Scott and the team to let us share. We are so thankful to be here. These moments where we get to get in front of God's people and cast this vision are like the most pivotal moments for us as an organization. Now, Real Hope really came from this experience that my husband Pete and I have had throughout our marriage, where when we tell people that we want to adopt kids, almost always the reaction is, "Oh, that's so great. You should do that." And that's great. That's a beautiful reaction. But we have found that if we add 3 magic words to the end of that statement, we sometimes get a pretty different reaction. And those 3 magic words are from foster care. When we tell people we want to adopt kids from foster care, sometimes the reaction we get is more like, "Ooh, are you sure about that? Have you heard the stories about those kids? Do you know what they're like?" And obviously that reaction comes from a place of love, right? And people just want to know that we know what we're getting into. And the truth is, we have sat and we have cried with families that have gone through unthinkable pain through their foster care and adoption journeys. Unthinkable pain. Those stories are out there and they're scary. Pete and I are in the process of our first adoption right now, and we're scared. I wouldn't say for a second that I'm not scared. I'm totally scared. But the truth is, I'm not nearly as scared for me and for how this is going to disrupt my life, and it will. I'm not nearly as scared for me as I am for these kids and for what happens when kids don't get adopted out of foster care. You guys, it's estimated that 80% of people in our prison systems in the United States have one thing in common. They were once in foster care. 80% of women who are sex trafficked in the United States have one thing in common. They were once in foster care. 20% of kids who age out of foster care without being adopted become immediately homeless the day after they turn 18. 25% of the kids who age out struggle with PTSD. 2/3 of the girls who age out of foster care without being adopted will be pregnant by the time they're 21. And 2/3 of those babies will end up back in foster care. You guys, we as the church, we as the people of God can address almost every issue our nation is facing if kids have Jesus and family. And if kids have Jesus and family, we make a pretty big impact on incarceration rates, sex trafficking, homelessness, teen pregnancy, mental health, all of it. But healing for these kids begins with Jesus and family. Now, hear me clearly on this. I am not saying that means if your family loves Jesus, then you can bring a kid who's been through significant trauma into your home, and as soon as that kid walks through the door, they're just going to be a little angel. Probably not. Without a miracle, probably not. These kids have been through more pain in their short little lives than most of us can even imagine. And they will be difficult at times. These kids will be challenging at times. But guess what, church? So are we. And God adopted us anyway. Let's not think for 1 second that our adoption as sons and daughters of God came without challenges. Our adoption came through blood, church. Our adoption came through sacrifice. And yet our God says we were worth it. Now, as you just heard, in the United States right now, there are 100,000 kids who are waiting to be adopted. 1,000 of those kids are right here in the state of Minnesota. I want to introduce you to one of those kids right now. This is my new friend. Martez lives here in Minnesota, and he's been waiting for a family for a long time. And Martez lives in a state where there are 4,000 churches. 1,000 kids waiting to be adopted. 4,000 churches. So you guys, we don't need every family to adopt a kid from foster care. We don't even need every church to adopt a kid from foster care. We need one family in every 4 churches to adopt one kid, and we will have no more orphans in the state of Minnesota. That is a doable goal, you guys. We are the people of God. That is a doable goal for us. So our goal at the Real Hope Project is to make a video like Martez's for every kid in Minnesota who's waiting to be adopted. And then we bring these videos around to churches like this one every Sunday, and we invite the people of God to pray and dream and talk about adopting kids from foster care. And when we do that, we like to take a second to just dispel a few of the myths that we hear quite a bit about adopting from foster care. The first one is this: oh man, I would love to adopt from foster care, but it's just too expensive. Which is actually not true. Adopting from foster care in Minnesota is free if you know the right avenues to take. Another myth that we hear all the time is that these kids are in foster care because they're bad. They did something wrong. Not true. Every child in foster care is the victim of either neglect or abuse. They're in foster care maybe because their parents did something wrong, but not because they did. Another myth that we often hear is that someone else will do it. Someone else will take care of these kids. But you guys, 1,000 kids are waiting in our state because someone else is not doing it. With Real Hope, we're at different churches every week, and a few months ago, we were at a church up in Duluth, and a woman named Julie, who works at an adoption agency in Duluth, came with us to hang out at our table and help answer questions. And when she was there, she was telling us that she is the adoption from foster care recruiter for not just Duluth, but the entire northern half of the state, all the way to like Hinckley, that whole area. The northern half of Minnesota. Her full-time 40-hour-a-week job is to recruit families to adopt from foster care. And at that time, she had been doing that job for 10 months. And in 10 months, she had had one person get licensed to adopt from foster care. Someone else is not doing it, guys. We are the ones who are called to head for the hills. I have a friend named Lisa who works at a big church in the cities, used to work at a big church in the cities. She was the head of their outreach department. And this really, really large church was brainstorming, what can we do to reach out to the vulnerable kids in our community. And so as a church, they decided, let's bring some donuts to the juvenile detention center in Lino Lakes on Easter morning. So on Easter morning, it's Lisa's job. She gets all these donuts. She's going to bring them to the juvenile detention center. She brings them in, and when she gets there, she notices that in kind of like the lobby area, there's a girl, a 12-year-old girl, sleeping on the chairs in the lobby. And she was like, oh, that's weird. And so just out of curiosity, she went to the kind of receptionist person who she was giving the donuts to, and she said, what's the deal with this girl? Is she supposed to be back in kind of the detention center with all the other kids? Is she getting picked up today, or what's going on? And the receptionist said, oh, no, she's not really supposed to be here. She's a foster kid, but we can't find a spot for her. So she's sleeping here in the lobby of a juvenile detention center on Easter morning because there aren't enough families. Someone else is not doing it, you guys. We as the church have to stop bringing donuts to kids who need families and then expecting them to want to know our Jesus. That's not going to work. Someone else is not doing it. And the last myth, and the one that we hear more than any of the others combined, is this: oh man, I would love to adopt from foster care, but I'm just too old. Which, first of all, we've heard from people who are like 36. I'm like, okay, calm down. Secondly, a kid like Martez is 12 years old. He doesn't need someone to raise him from infancy. He needs someone to help him get through middle school and high school. He needs someone to help him get his first apartment, his first job. He needs somewhere to go home to for Christmas and Easter. He needs somebody to call when he's 25 and his car breaks down. Family doesn't end when you turn 18. Family is forever. And lastly, we like to just point out that the I'm too old reason could be a risky reason to give God, because there are multiple people in the Bible who told God that they were too old to have kids, and then God was like, Zappo, kids. So I'll just rethink that before you tell God that that's your reason. So here's what we're asking of you this morning. I want to ask every person here to pray about doing one of these three things: adopt, village, or give. Adopt, village, or give. So number one, adopt. Go on our website and just watch some stories. We've got over 70 videos on our site right now of kids who are waiting to be a part of a family. Stop by our table this morning. We're going to have kid videos that are looping on these iPads in the back. Stop by and just meet some kids on these iPads. And by the way, kids, little ones, are drawn to these iPads like bugs to a light. There are always kids who come and watch the videos. Adults sometimes are a little more hesitant to come to the table. I think sometimes maybe because you think that we are going to like trick you into signing adoption paperwork, which if that were possible, we would do that. But it's a pretty long process. It would be impressive if we could trick you for that long. So just come to our table, meet some kids. Now, maybe you're not called to adopt. Not everybody is, and that's okay. Maybe you're just not in a place in life where that's doable. That's okay. Then sign up to be a part of a village. When we go to churches, we say for any one family from Grace Church that comes forward to adopt from foster care, we need 5 families from Grace who are going to come around that family as the village that helps to raise this child. And we have a structured, scheduled system of support to make sure that that family doesn't fall through the cracks in some of the chaos and some of the challenges that will come with adopting kids who have been through trauma. And if you can't adopt and you can't village, then give. Everything we do as an organization costs money. We travel around the state to make these videos, and we travel around the state to share them. And we cannot do this without the generosity of the church. So if you can give $5 a month, if you can give $50 a month, if you can give a one-time gift, all of it goes a long way in helping us to reach our goal of making a video and finding a forever family for every kid in Minnesota who's waiting to be adopted. And lastly, the thing that I think and I hope all of us here can do is just share. Follow REELHOPE on social media, and when you see us post these videos, just share them. Because maybe you're not in a place where you can adopt, but I guarantee you someone in your sphere of influence is thinking about it. And seeing one kid's story can be the turning point that changes a kid's life forever. So you have your phones. If you can grab those again. Again, the number is 612-888-0494. I'm going to ask you to text one of those 3 words to that phone number: adopt, village, or give, and your email address to that phone number. Adopt, village, or give, and your email address. So it'll say village, Megan@gmail.com, or adopt, Susie@yahoo.com. Text that in, and then all that's going to happen is that tomorrow we're just going to send you a link so you can get more information. We'll send you a link to our online giving page. We'll send you a link to sign up to be a part of a village. If you text in adopt, then we're just going to text you tomorrow, and you're going to have our number so that if you have questions, if you want to learn more, you can give us a call and we can talk about that. Adopt, village, or give. Text that in. Don't forget your email address. Let's make sure that every kid in Minnesota has a forever family. And together, you guys, let's head for the hills. Thanks.